In college, some majors just sound impressive, like materials science and engineering. You might not know what that means, but in our next story, we'll show you how a group of students at the University of Illinois took that specialty and applied it in a way that's changing lives around the world.
There's 25 million people around the world who are missing one or more of their limbs, and approximately 80% of them live in developing countries. The great majority of the world's amputees do not have access to affordable and appropriate care and rehabilitation.
Jonathan Naber graduated in 2011 from the University of Illinois with a degree in materials science and engineering. As a 19-year-old sophomore, Naber formed Illinois Prosthetics Technologies, or IPT.
We're a nonprofit and charitable organization with the vision of a world in which every person who has lost a limb due to amputation has a simple, innovative, and affordable prosthetic device replacement. We are essentially a group of engineers who have foregone other career options in order to spend our time developing this technology, which we hope can change the world.
I thought with prosthetics it'd be a great way to use engineering skills to really have a real-world impact.
My interest has always been about being able to design things that help people.
The IPT team began prototyping affordable prosthetics, starting with the development of an arm made out of recyclables and advancing to a prosthetic arm device called the open socket.
On a daily basis, IPT looks at the products that surround us. We look at our shoes, we look at our watches, we look at our cars, we look at our bicycles. So one of the big inspirations for the open socket, and really for the philosophy behind the open socket, is shoes. The central paradigm behind our product is that we eliminate the need for a custom fit. And if you go back a couple hundred years, shoes used to have to be custom made. They weren't made in factories.
So a traditional prosthetic arm is custom made for each and every patient by a prosthetist, which is a professional, and it works very well in the US. But in the developing world, those professionals aren't available.
The IPT team continues to develop the open socket prosthetic arm at the University of Illinois Research Park. One of many challenges for IPT is to create a design that is functional and adjustable.
This is a standardized design that is a more off-the-shelf solution. So instead of this design being very rigid and contouring to one person's arm, it has adjustability built in. Once you open up the top compartment, it has straps that you tighten on onto the person's arm, and that pulls the whole system together and makes it conform to the person. So we have different sizes of this system that fit different patients. A patient can come into the clinic, and that same day they can go home with a fully functional prosthetic arm.
Beyond the functionality challenges, the economic and social ramifications for people without limbs in developing countries are enormous.
Most amputees, when they lose an arm, will be either fired from their job, or they will just be unable to perform daily tasks that we take for granted. Life is increasingly more difficult for people once they lose an arm in the developing world, and their life was already difficult beforehand.
In 2010, the IPT team made a trip to Guatemala that profoundly influenced their progress, design, and purpose.
From that experience and throwing ourselves into that situation, we were really quickly able to learn a lot more than we would have been able to if we had just been working here remotely, trying to design something for the developing world.
A couple of really big highlights for us during that first trip were watching somebody write their name using one of the devices that we had designed, as well as watching another amputee tie his shoelaces.
When we went and actually met people firsthand and heard their stories and saw how eager they were not only to get a device, but to also help us help other people to get prosthetic devices, that really firmed up the resolve, I think, to push this to the level where we need to take it.
We're now in the process of refining the open socket based on the results of that advanced field testing. And the purpose of that long-term testing is to really get a validation of our product so that we can confidently begin selling it to the non-governmental organizations and the aid organizations working with amputees in the developing world.
Thanks to his prosthetic innovations, Naber has been honored with numerous awards for work with IPT, including winning the Lemelson MIT Illinois Student Prize, awarded to a student for outstanding innovation and invention.
That was the moment that we realized, oh my goodness, what we have set out to do is truly going to come to fruition.
It's not about money, it's about sort of having a personal satisfaction with what you do. I would rather work on IPT than do anything else. It's just such a more fulfilling experience.
We see the tangible need and how we can help. But also, it's a great way for us to be able to just use our skills and interests in a way that we can see the impact.
One of the most beautiful things about being in a university is that we take students from all over with very different life experiences, and we send them back out into the world to be leaders. Leaders in their community, in their neighborhood, in the state and the nation and the world. Jonathan Naber is just beginning, and look at his beginning.
Needless to say, the amputees in the field provide a lot of the motivation for what we're doing. It's not about adding another line to our resume. It's not about building our street cred. It's only about helping amputees in the developing world.